What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, CamATL, and welcome back to another NFL video with your boy. Drop a like down below, comment anything in the comment section, and enter your name into the $50 giveaway I do every single week on this channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As you guys know, early in the week we do the first look lineup. We just pretty much talk about the guys in the lineup. We build an early look lineup, and then as the week goes on, information comes out, all that good stuff. We have more information to go off of. We do the full slate breakdown on Fridays where we go position by position and break down the entire slate, pretty much giving our core for each position. All right, kind of give y'all a good little player pool to work with. I am on the green light optimizer. I have a lot of people who will comment in the comment sections under my videos asking what optimizer I'm using. This is the green light DFS optimizer. This is our optimizer over on the site. You get this with any access that you get to the website. It can generate you 150 lineups like that, no problem. It's got a lineup builder, blah blah blah, whatever. So have fun with it, do your thing. But this is what I like to use for my videos because it is ours and it's my personal projections. So let's get straight into this slate, baby. Starting off at quarterback. So I have, let's sort point per salary and really look at, the best options come their price tags. At the top of the list, you got Marcus Mariota at 5.3, grades out as solid point per salary this week in a great matchup against the Chargers. This is a fantastic spot for Mariota because he gives a solid floor as well. The only issue with Mariota is he's one of those guys that you really predominantly like to just run solo. I mean, you compare him with London, you compare him with Pitts, but I mean, he's a guy that you can really run solo as well. London's had some struggle games. Pitts kind of disappears at times, so it's not consistent, and you're not sure exactly what you're going to get from there. But at the end of the day, Marcus Mariota can do a lot with his feet, and that's kind of what shines here. And the Chargers give a lot up on the ground, so Mariota could really have a field day on the ground in this one. You know what I mean? So it opened at the Chargers giving up 7.5. It's gone down to only giving up 3. This is a solid spot to attack. This game in general is a solid spot. I really like this spot for both sides of this ball, and I'm definitely interested in getting some exposure into this game because when it comes to the closest spread, highest totals, this is one of those games this week. All right, so but I'm not wanting a ton on the Atlanta side. I would really like some Chargers side, especially with the injuries they're dealing with. So let's move on. Geno Smith is one of my favorite this week. I really like this game between Seattle and Arizona a ton this week. Um, Seattle and Arizona game is going to be one of those games. It should be high scoring. It should be back and forth. Geno Smith is in a dome. It's always good in that situation. He's only 5'8", which he has been around that low, that mid 5K, upper 5K range all season long. He's got amazing targets in Lockett and DK Metcalf. This is just a great spot for him, man, in a dome. Um, right now, you have Arizona as favorites as well, so Seattle is the underdog, which would lean, if that in fact does end up being true, then that would lean Seattle being more pass heavy in this one, where they're not the most pass heavy team in the league for sure. You definitely want Seattle when they're going to have to, pass a little heavier. And if they're underdogs, it's a good spot for them to do so. So Geno Smith, another great reason why Geno pops for me this week is the correlation with him. You've got DK Lockett that you compare him with, and then on the other side, DeAndre Hopkins. So it's nice correlation in this game that really gives you a nice little balance. You know what I mean? If you go back and talk about the Atlanta Charger game, right? Another game that's a good one. Um, you could go Mariota paired with Pitts, Mariota paired with London, and then run back on the other side with maybe Eckler or run back with Josh Palmer, whatever. You got those options. So that's another game that you could definitely do that with. Derek Carr is interesting to me. Once again, with the correlation, you have Derek Carr, who you could pair with Devontae Adams, obviously. That's always going to be good. And on the other side, you got Travis Etienne, who's fantastic for Jacksonville. So the only issue you have here, right? The only issue is that you have the Raiders favored in this game, which is probably going to be. I mean, it's good for ETN. Don't get me wrong. I love ETN, but it's going to end up being Raiders kind of up. Maybe it's more of a Jacobs, but it's a close spread. It's only 1.5, so it's not one of those things where you really got to worry too much about the game script getting out of hand unless the game just goes way differently than expected. They're expecting this game to stay close and decent. I'm not going to have a ton out of this game outside of somebody that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I do like Derek Carr. He grades out as a solid point per dollar for me. Mac Jones can be played at 5-1. He's just really cheap. in this situation at home in New England. Trevor Lawrence against Las Vegas is in play for me at 5-2. There is a lot of, as you could see, there's a common theme right now on here. Look at all the 5K. Like, look at all the value-ish 5K options we have at quarterback this week. Getting different this week will be spending up. If you look for the best spend ups, it's going to be Josh Allen. It's going to be Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert. These guys are completely fine. I like all of these guys. All of these guys are on pass-heavy situations. Josh Allen's the most pass-heavy offense in the entire league. The Jets' defense has been shockingly good, but Josh Allen still, they're going to be extremely pass-heavy in this one. If the game ends up staying competitive, he could really go off for a big day. But the one thing that you got to realize when you go into slates is kind of find where the value is and spend up where there isn't as much. And honestly, quarterback feels like it's got a plethora of value. So my core at quarterback, Aaron Rodgers also I want to talk about as well. Because this Green Bay total is like fourth highest, actually like third highest on this slate. Actually, second highest because Kansas City's the night game and then the Eagles already played. So you've got the Bills as the top total and then Green Bay is right below them. Now they are in Detroit in a dome. He's not at home in a dome because Green Bay is not a dome, but he is in a dome, period. Aaron Rodgers has dealt with issues with his receiving core. It's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, it's still Aaron Rodgers. And it's still a position where he could definitely shine in this one. It's the highest total, like I said. It's only a 3.5 spread. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's obviously areas where I would not be surprised at all if it ends up being a huge Aaron Jones game. I mean, this game really screams Aaron Jones to me, with them being favored and going against Detroit, who's bad versus the run. Like this is a nice Aaron Jones spot. And it's kind of suspect that Aaron Rodgers' price is down to 5.9. Now, I get it. He hasn't had a fantastic season this year. He hasn't done anything huge or miraculous. But at the end of the day, this is still Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, this does lean a little more Aaron Jones game for me, which is why I have him graded down here at he's still about top 10 in value, but still. And this is in a dome. So he's a serviceable option. Let me see. Is he getting Lazard back this week? He should be getting Lazard back, which is great for him. So Aaron Rodgers is in play. I'll probably lean just a slightly more GPP-ish with Aaron Rodgers this week, just because of how the game script could easily go here. Green Bay does run a good bit. So I would not be surprised to see Aaron Jones go off. Aaron Jones, on the other hand, is still a little bit of a risky play because A.J. Dillon's still in the mix. Aaron Jones is going to be the main guy, but he is splitting with A.J. Dillon. So yeah, this kind of leans run heavy-ish to me. Green Bay, like I said, already runs kind of heavy. They don't have the greatest receivers to throw the ball to. They should be in control of this game. It's in a dome. So Aaron Jones kind of leans for me. But games where I think are going to have to lean past, Geno Smith definitely sticks out to me. Marcus Mariota is not a guy that you really want to, if you're expecting the Chargers to be up big and Mariota to have to air it out to get you points, you don't really love that situation for him. But at 5'3", just off the rushing floor that he can give you, he's a serviceable option. The Raiders have been a bad secondary, so Trevor Lawrence is fine. But, I mean, it's one of those situations where you got to think about, who do you really feel good pairing him with? You don't really want to pair him with Travis Etienne. So you got to make a decision in those Jacksonville receivers on who you really want to pair Trevor Lawrence with. So it's all about correlation. I've talked about this so many times with you guys, man. It's really important that you make your decisions based off of what just really meshes well together. And that's why it takes a good amount of time in every DFS sport. A lot of people think it's just so simple. Oh, this guy's out. Oh, it's obvious you play this guy. At the end of the day, roster construction is the hardest part. You really got to go through a bunch of different options. You got to look at a bunch of different you got to go through a bunch of different options for the slate and really find what is the best, most optimal route due to correlation, due to analytics, due to everything together in one. You know what I mean? It's got to be a perfect storm to have those big days. That's why having two back-to-back top of the contest slates like we've had is amazing. That's always great. But we've just been locked in, spending that time to really get our correlation right. And that is very important in football. So It's one of those things when you pick your quarterback, think about the correlation you can have with him or play him because of his rushing floor. All right, so that's about it. You're spending up for Josh Allen, maybe Kyler Murray, or you're spending, or I mean, also Justin Herbert, or you're spending mid-range, which grades out as the best point per dollar options for me, and that's Geno Smith probably more than likely. Derek Carr has some guys you could pair with and some options that you're going to also play on the other side. So good correlation there as well. But yeah, predominantly you're going to want to stay Geno, Mariota rushing ability or spend up for the studs. Running back, let's get to it. Joe Mixon for Cincinnati going against Carolina. Now Carolina made a very nice effort against my Falcons last week. I'm not going to lie. That was stressful. Not only um, did my team make it closer than we needed to, but that was the last game on my 14 parlay. I had Atlanta winning that game, and that sealed the deal for our 14 parlay. Which, by the way, I'm going to put another one on the site as well this week because I mean we've been smashing over the last week. We haven't lost a bet yet, so we'll be putting the parlay on there and hopefully sweeping that again. But Carolina's just not a very good football team right now. They're just very thin. They've lost a lot on their offense. They had a good game against Atlanta because really everybody has a good game against Atlanta, and that brings you back to Herbert, pairing Herbert with these options, Josh Palmer, and you got Keenan Allen out most likely. You've got Mike Williams out, so you've got a lot of value there on the Clipper side. Clipper. My God, you have a lot of value on the Chargers side, in that game as well, but. Carolina is probably going to struggle here. And if I have to guess, I would imagine Cincinnati's able to be up in this, all right, at home in Cincinnati. Now, the struggle is they didn't look the greatest without Jamar Chase the other day. So that's tough. But this team is still much better than Carolina. I'm expecting the game script to be very in favor of Joe Mixon. And the best part about this, like I talked earlier on in the week, Joe Mixon really got involved in the pass heavy with Jamar Chase out last week. So expect a lot of Joe Mixon, whether it be on the ground, whether it be through the pass. Either way, he's a fantastic option. Grades out as the top running back on the slate for me. Travis Etienne. I talked about having those Vegas guys that you can play, Carr and Adams, and running it back on the other side with Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne is going to get a ton of run here for Jacksonville. All right, he's going to get a ton of carries. He's going to get some targets in the pass game. He's a good pass catching back. He's just all around a stud. And at 6'3", he's also a fantastic option. Ramondre Stevenson. You have Damian Harris questionable. I'm expecting him to be active, but he shouldn't get a ton of run. He's not going to take a lot away from Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson is the guy getting predominantly all the carries. He's going to get good amount of targets in the pass game. Once again, full point PPR on Draftkings. Stevenson is going to be a fantastic play with the way that sets up for him. Austin Eckler, even at 8.8, grades out as the top 4 running back for me on this slate point per dollar. He is extremely expensive, so you're having to do a different type of build here to be able to get him in. But against Atlanta, he's going to be heavily involved through the pass. He's going to in the run game. I mean, you've got Keenan possibly out, Mike Williams out. They're going to be relying heavily on Eckler. So I definitely like Eckler at 8.8 as well. Josh Jacobs should be a spot where Vegas should probably run a good bit here. Josh Jacobs is in a fantastic position to succeed here after letting a lot of people down last week. He had a down game last week, right? Yeah. So Josh Jacobs ended up having a down week last week. So that would tell me that while a lot of people might shy away from him, it's time to jump back on it if you would like to get lower ownership in a guy that grades out well for me on this slate. Top 5 point per dollar. Kenneth Walker, the third. As you know, Seattle is a good run team. All right. They like to run the ball. Okay, and already, if Geno is going to be chalk paired with his receivers, you're already getting different playing the run game instead. Fading that and then playing the run game. Kenneth Walker is going to get a good amount of run. Seattle does like to run. And it's just a good spot for him. At 6'2", he's a solid option. I prefer Ramondre Stevenson at that same price just because Stevenson will get really heavier involved in the pass game, and that's always good on DK, and he's probably going to get the same amount of carries. And if you have 100, I prefer ETN. But Kenneth Walker's in play as well. Let's see who else. Aaron Jones, I talked about him. The only reason he's down here on my list is because of A.J. Dillon existing and because of the price at 7.4 when you've got these 6K range guys that are so elite this week. But Aaron Jones could absolutely have a huge game. Let's see what else. Michael Carter is interesting. He's going to get involved heavily in the pass game against Buffalo. Obviously, they're going to be down big. Playing Jets pass game is obviously a solid option when you're going game script. Tough matchup for them though. They could quite possibly get shut out. Um, that's about it, y'all. I'm really, limited on my running back plays. It's Mixon, ETN, Stevenson, Eckler, Jacobs, Kenneth Walker for me, really, and then Aaron Jones, kind of GPP, could have a huge day. But temper your expectations. Possibly could be a tough one too. Like so, you just never really know because of AJ Dillon. I don't think there's a possibility he has a tough one, but he maybe not doesn't necessarily have value comparative to the guys in the 6K range. All right, wide receiver, DK Metcalf, Hopkins, Lockett, London, DJ Moore, Palmer. All these guys are popping to me, and let's talk about why. DK Metcalf is a fantastic option because he is getting 30% target share on the Seattle offense. He's a great pairing with Geno if you have Geno, and look right under him. Great pairing with running it back with DeAndre Hopkins, who's getting like 50% of the team's targets. Marquise Brown is out. This is just a solid position for this game, man. And this is part of the reason why I really like this game because you really got options on the Seattle side and then you've got options on the Arizona side to really get a nice involvement in this game. Now, if this game ends up being super low scoring, it's going to kill a lot of people, but it's definitely a solid spot to attack. Tyler Lockett, same reasoning. All right, both these guys, Lockett's getting like 26% target share, whereas Metcalf's getting more. If you have to prioritize one, it would be Metcalf. But honestly, you can full stack the hell out of this. You could definitely go Geno paired with Metcalf and Lockett and run back with DeAndre Hopkins if you have faith in this game. Drake London. Atlanta is expected to be behind, and at the end of the day, Drake London has kind of, been a little bit of a letdown. Hasn't been the most fantastic guy all the time, but he is getting a high target share when they do pass the ball. Atlanta's a heavy run team, but when they do pass, London is getting an extremely high target share out of that. And if they're playing from behind, it's going to be a solid spot for him here at 4-9. DJ Moore, everybody's out for Carolina. Plus, they're expected to be behind. He's going to continue to get heavy targets. He had a huge game last week due to that last-minute bomb against Atlanta, but plain and simple, it's just the usage he's going to have, the market share of the receiving that he's going to have on that offense. Joshua Palmer, as I've said, the injuries on the Chargers is great for him, and the matchup against Atlanta is fantastic. You saw what Carolina did against Atlanta last week, so yes, Josh Palmer's fantastic. Zay Jones, if you go Trevor Lawrence, that's a solid play. When it comes to cheap plays, Zay Jones at 4-1, you could do worse than him. Sure, you could play Cooper Kupp. Sure, you could play Amon-Ra St. Brown. Um, Hawkinson is gone for Detroit. Amon-Ra's usage is going to be super high. So he is a guy that I definitely have interest in. The only worry is he is the only receiver to worry about for Detroit, so maybe they really focus on shutting him down. Make Detroit kind of beat him with the run with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Because at the end of the day, Green Bay should be up and then really just shut the pass down, and then it's going to be a rough one for them. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, his usage, his market share of the targets is going to be crazy high. He's probably going to get 35% of the passing targets on his team, at least. Maybe even more. Jacoby Myers always gets targeted a good bit. DeAndre Carter, once again, with the injuries on the Chargers, is fantastic. But really, I've talked about the core. I mean, those top guys point per dollar. If you're spending up, this is my favorite spend ups, DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah, Devontae Adams, if you're playing Derek Carr, pair your guy up. T. Higgins with no Jamar Chase is fine, especially if you have Burrow lines against Carolina. Let's move on. At tight end, I'm going to go through these last spots pretty quickly because, tight end and defense is what it is. Tyler Higbee gets a huge involvement in the pass game for the Rams. This is a great spot for him against Tampa Bay here at 3-7. Seems too cheap. Evan Ingram, again, he's been getting involved in this pass game pretty heavily, and if Jacksonville's going to be behind, he should get involved in that script pretty good. Hayden Hurst, no Jamar Chase. Fantastic option for him as well at 3-6. Kyle Pitts, you're having to spend some money on. Tyler Conklin, they've got some issues going on in the Jets receiving core, so Conklin could see a heavy dosage of him at 3-2. Like I said, the Jets are going to be heavy pass. They might pass 70% plus of the time this week. So that's great for Tyler Conklin. He is an athletic dude. Tough matchup against Buffalo, yes, but just opportunity being behind as heavy as they will, he's a great option. So really, it's Higbee, Ingram, Conklin, Hayden Hurst are really interesting to me. And if you're playing, obviously, if you're playing Mariota, it's fine to pair him with Kyle Pitts. Defensive wise, I've got the Buccaneers at the top. The Rams have given up the most fantasy points to defenses this year. So Buccaneers stick out to me at 3K. Um, you've got many options, man. You've got the Bills, you've got the Buccaneers, you've got the Bengals against Carolina, you've got the Patriots against a rookie quarterback. You've got those options. I like the Buccaneers the most probably, but there's many ways you can go on defense. I'm either probably going, Buffalo could easily shut the Jets out this week. So Buffalo, Buccaneers are my priority. But I do like the Bengals a lot at home against Carolina. They could come down to reality here against this defense. And then the Patriots against a rookie quarterback. I mean, we know how good the coaching is for these Patriots when they facing rookie quarterbacks. They really put pressure on these guys and really make it tough for them. Belichick is a beast. So, I mean, he could really shut out this rookie quarterback for the Colts at home in New England. It's a really tough spot for this dude. Okay. We liked Ellinger last week just to kind of give us a floor, and he did great enough for us. This week, I'm not going back to that against the Patriots, and I'm willing to pay the Patriots D for sure. All right. So that's about it, man. Hopefully, I was able to touch on everybody for you guys. We went position by position, broke down a good little core for everyone. It's a sexy slate, man. So I'm going to be looking at this slate in the next couple days nonstop. I'm excited once again to get our third big win in a row for NFL. It has been fantastic. As always, if you like sports betting and just betting on games in general, that my favorite bets will also be posted on the NFL Access page this week. Again, we swept last week. I won a good amount of money just on betting on games last week because of that parlay hitting. So it was a fantastic week. Not only DFS coming at the top of contest, but also sweeping a 14 parlay was just beautiful. So let's just keep it going, man. We got college football as well tomorrow. So college football, every single week we have an opportunity to go off there. Even when we lose by tiny bits. So we've had a huge season for college football, and I'm excited to keep that going as well. So good luck, everybody. I hope everybody kills it. Let's get this money this week, y'all. I'm out. Peace.